Welcome aboard Just Jets with your captain, Matt O'Leary. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary, back with episode number 49 of Just Jets, almost at a year straight of these. I love doing this podcast. It's so much fun. It's been Jets therapy for a while, but Jets fans have a lot of reasons to be excited about. They have a new coach. We'll get into that. There's been Sam Darnold rumors. We'll get into that. A whole lot of rumors in the offseason going on. But before we get started today, I wanted to talk to you about MANSCAPED. Support for Just Jets is brought to you by MANSCAPED, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Big news. MANSCAPED just released their new cologne scent to help you feel good and smell good all over and at all times. Who knew smelling this good could feel this good too? Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all your below-the-waist grooming needs. Here you go, right here, Refined by Manscaped. Put a little on. It smells tremendous. I absolutely love it. I wear it almost every day. Being honest with you guys, I absolutely love it. So go to manscaped.com. Use my promo code JETS20. That's promo code JETS20 for 20% off and free shipping. Absolutely worth your while to check out. So now that we got the housekeeping stuff out of the way, let's get into the open for the episode before we get into the voicemails. And I want to talk about the Sam Darnold rumors. Now, there were a few reports. So after the Robert Saleh hire, Adam Schefter comes out and says that it's going to be Sam Darnold. The Jets are sticking with Sam Darnold. And then there was the report today, or yesterday, about Sam Darnold's untapped potential, and that LaFleur and Saleh see that Sam Darnold has untapped potential. And I get all of that, and I think that there is a chance that Sam Darnold is here in 2021. I do think that it is a possibility, but I'll say this. If you were going to trade Sam Darnold, would you be talking about how bad he is or talking up him so that you could increase his trade value? So the point here is it gives off the Josh is our guy energy that we saw from the Cardinals when Josh Rosen, it seemed like they're buying into Josh Rosen, and then they end up drafting Kyler Murray 1 overall, which was the right decision at that time. Feel like it's a similar situation here with the New York Jets and Sam Darnold. To me, I know I made a video on it yesterday. I think Sam Darnold is going to get traded, and I think Zach Wilson is going to be the pick at number 2. That's what I would do. I think that makes the most sense. At this point, if I had to guess, I think it's really between Wilson or Darnold. I think I'd be surprised if Justin Fields was the pick at 2. And then, of course, you have the Deshaun Watson rumors that have been circling around. And yesterday was another big day of circling around when Adam Schefter came out and said the New York Jets could potentially have the best trade package for Deshaun Watson. And while I don't disagree, I think the likelihood of that happening is pretty small. So I would put, maybe let's say 41% chance that it's going to be Wilson, 39% chance that it's going to be Sam Darnold, 10% on Justin Fields, and 10% on Deshaun Watson to be the quarterback next year. But you absolutely have reason to be excited about this team, whatever they decide to do at the quarterback position, because of the coaches that they have in here. Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur as the offensive coordinator is a massive, massive, massive increase and turnaround from having Adam Gase and Dowell Loggins. That's like polar opposites of each other. And I know Adam Gase was billed as this offensive guru, which is such BS. He never was that. He rode Peyton Manning's coattails. We all know that. But LaFleur has worked his way up. He was under a legitimate top 4 offensive play caller in football at absolute worst. You have Sean McVay, you have Kyle Shanahan, Sean Payton, and Andy Reid, of course. Those are probably my top 4 play callers in the NFL right now. And your offensive coordinator has pretty much been by his side since 2014 with the Browns. Then he went over to Atlanta for a couple of years as an offensive assistant, and then was a passing game coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers for the last few years. And they got a ton out of Jimmy G in his one healthy season. So I wouldn't be stunned if the Jets decide really between Wilson or Darnold. That's what I'm down to at this point. I think if I had to bet and put money on it, it's going to be one of those two guys starting in week 1 of 2021. Again, I would be kind of surprised at this point if it was Justin Fields, just because I don't think he's as good of a fit in this offensive system that they're going to be running. It's going to be a lot of outside zones. It's going to be a lot of play action, which is right up Wilson's alley. And to be honest with you, if Sam Darnold were to revive his career, a lot of people said that San Francisco would be a perfect fit, and that's because of that offense. And they're bringing the San Francisco offense with them. It's not my preferred option. I would rather go with Wilson, but it wouldn't surprise me if they kept and held on to Sam Darnold, because maybe they do believe in that untapped potential. But I don't think the point of what I wanted to say in this open here was I don't think you could put too much stock into what's being said right now, one way or the other. We still have a long time to go before the draft. We still have a long time to go before free agency. Nothing is written in stone. Sure, these rumors are fun and it allows for some good content and some good conversation, but we're still a ways away. I don't think anyone truly knows what Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are going to want to do, or what LaFleur is going to want in his quarterback to be just yet. I don't think they've made a final decision just yet, but we'll see here. And again, I'm going to say this. It's an exciting time to be a Jets fan with this hire. Saleh's a well-respected guy. A lot of the fans, for good reason, have been excited about it. LaFleur coming over is huge. Yes, obviously I talked up Mike McDaniel a lot, but I mean, it's no surprise that he's going to get a promotion to offensive coordinator. Sticking with Shanahan, that makes sense for him. And the argument, I've talked about this a ton on Twitter and on the channel, but the argument that the Jets shouldn't hire Saleh because his offensive coordinator could potentially be poached in a year or two is such... Oh my God, it's ridiculous, because that is such a first world problem. If the Jets offense is a top 10 offense for the next 2 years and they're a playoff team, and then their coach gets poached in a year or two, I think every single Jets fan is signing up for that. We have not seen a good offense since 2015, and before that, 2010, and that was questionable because they didn't really have a great passing offense. They had a good running offense in 09 and 10, but passing offense left a little bit to be desired. 2015 was probably the last time, and then the early 2000s with Chad Pennington, 98 with Vinny Testaverde, that we've seen some good Jets offenses. So if we can get to the point where they're consistently good on the offensive side of the ball, that would be huge for this team. And I think the Saleh and LaFleur combination could absolutely be the two to help turn that around and to turn the tide. So I'm extremely excited, as are you guys. So we're going to get into the voicemails now, answer the questions. We got trade conversations, we have draft conversations, we have coaching reactions, and with all that, let's get into it. First up is Matt from Tennessee, who wants to talk about a trade back scenario.
Hey, Matt. This is Matt from Knoxville, Tennessee. First-time caller, but I've
Welcome.
been watching your podcast for a while and kind of the whole panel thing and all that. So I was calling about reason why this trade back stuff from spot number 2 to keep Sam Darnold doesn't make sense to me, and I just kind of wanted your opinions on it. But the way I'm looking at it is we're in prime position to take what would probably be one of the best quarterback prospects in the past couple of years, maybe. And he would be number 1 in any other draft without a generational prospect in front of him. So we're at prime position to take that without giving up a bunch of assets. I just don't see a reason why you wouldn't take that. We're going into Sam Darnold's 4th year, and we have no evaluation whatsoever on him. And I just don't see, what reasoning we should trade back and keep him for another year. We're going to have to pay him soon, and he's shown nothing that makes me comfortable wanting to give him $30+ million a year.
I agree.
To keep him. So I keep thinking about it, and we trade back and get a few picks next year, and maybe something else after that. Who knows? The next couple of years we'll have some extra picks. But best case scenario, I'm thinking, we go 8-8 next year, and Sam Darnold has an average year. Are we really going to pay him after that? His best season as a pro, he's been 8-8 and average maybe. I don't see him playing at a Pro Bowl level at all next year, much less an MVP level. And unless he does that, I don't think I'd be comfortable paying him, the money he's gonna get. So we end up 8-8, middle of the draft, and have to trade all those assets we just got
to trade
back up to draft a quarterback next year. And I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me. We haven't seen enough from Sam, and I think we're at a good spot to take a good QB at number 2, and I think we have to do that. So just getting your thoughts. I appreciate it. I love the show, and Go Jets.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Thank you so much for checking in with us and welcome aboard. I absolutely am in agreement here. I think if it was up to me, I would be taking Zach Wilson at 2. I think he's a perfect fit for this offense that they're going to be running. Justin Fields is a good prospect, but I don't think he's as good of a fit in this particular scheme. If the Jets drafted him, I do think that they can craft up an offense that could work. I prefer both of those options over keeping Sam Darnold for sure. I agree with you. I think that you're setting yourself up to go, maybe if you keep Sam Darnold and you go 6-10 and now you're picking 9th, let's say, then like what the heck are you going to do at that point? Then you're going to have to move up in order to take someone in a worse quarterback class next year. So I think if you're picking in the top 3 after having the worst starting quarterback in football last year, it's too obvious, right? You just take the one you like. Personally, I think the one that makes the most sense, with Trevor Lawrence off the board, of course, is Zach Wilson. If Jacksonville does something crazy, like taking Justin Fields or taking Zach Wilson, then obviously you take Trevor Lawrence and do the happy dance. But other than that, I think I'm with you in lockstep. Let's take Zach Wilson, start the rookie clock over, trade Sam Darnold for a second, and continue to build up that way. Next up is Phil from North Carolina, wants to talk about a trade scenario.
Hey, Matt. It's Phil from Charlotte. I was calling to see how you would feel about the Jets maybe trading with the Cleveland Browns for Kareem Hunt. All right, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you for checking in, Phil. I would not like that. I think that, yes, his contract is reasonable next year, but he's not a good character guy, and I don't think that's the direction that they're going to want to go with. I don't think they're going to look to give up a draft asset to acquire a running back. I very much so believe that they are going to go running back by committee next year. That's what they did in San Francisco. It's worked for them. I think with this scheme and an improved offensive line, which you could do in the draft and free agency, that you can have Ty Johnson, LaMichael Pirine, and I don't know, Marlon Mack, Jamal Williams, Gus Edwards, someone like that as your running back trio and be absolutely more than fine. I think that I would be so much more comfortable doing that. You don't have to pay a whole lot of money for one of those 3 guys in free agency, and you still have a cheap, deep running back room. So that's the direction that I would like to go. I don't want to give up a draft asset for someone like Kareem Hunt. As good as he is on the field, I just don't think it makes sense for how the Jets have been building this thing under Joe Douglas. Next up is Liam in Sayville, wants to talk DeVonta Smith.
Hey, Matt, it's Liam from Sayville. Should the Jets try to draft DeVonta Smith? And if they do, should we also try to go after Allen Robinson as well? Or do you think maybe that's too much, or maybe like one or not, one or the other? What do you think? Let me know. Thank you for taking my call, and as always, go Jets. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for checking in, Liam. I don't think that if the Jets sign Allen Robinson in free agency, I think them taking a wide receiver in the first round immediately goes off the board. I think it's a one or the other sort of deal here. I personally wouldn't, as good of a player as he is, I wouldn't take him at 2. If you're keeping Sam Darnold, if that's the plan, then maybe you trade back with Cincinnati. And if they take, let's say they move up for Penei Sewell, hope to God that the Miami goes a different direction. Maybe they like Jamar Chase more. But at that point, I'm not necessarily looking to take a wide receiver like that at 2. I think you're better off moving back, getting more capital, and then taking a wide receiver after you move back. That's me personally. I also don't know if I necessarily buy stock into Joe Douglas doing that. I think the chances of that happening are probably on the slimmer side. We'll have to see. I like Smith a lot as a player out of Alabama. Put up an absolutely phenomenal performance in the national championship game. Would love him on my team, no doubt about it. But I'm not taking him at 2. Next up is Brandon from Long Island, wants to talk about defensive coordinators.
Yo, Matt, what's up?
Hey.
Big fan of the show.
Thank you.
It's Brandon. I'm from Long Island. I was just wondering, so I just watched your video on how people are overreacting to the whole Robert Saleh leaving thing. And I know you said that you'd like to see Mike Kafka as the OC, or that that's who he's considering. But who would you want to see as the defensive coordinator? Because I know he's a defensive-minded head coach. Please answer this. Have a nice day.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for checking in. I think that they can go a couple of different directions. A name that's been brought up, who was interviewed actually, was Aaron Glenn, who I always thought made a little bit more sense as a defensive coordinator than a head coach as of right now. He would be on my list. Chris Richard would absolutely be on my list after taking a year off from football. He was great with Seattle. He was great in Dallas, and their paths overlapped in Seattle. So to me, that's the front runner. Maybe Wade Phillips is talking about coming out of retirement. I think that could potentially make sense. I think Richard is my number one at this point, though. I think if you're telling me that the Jets could potentially go from Adam Gase and Dowell Loggins as their 1-2 with Greg Williams as defensive coordinator, so that trio, to Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, and Chris Richard, like, that is just such a significant upgrade. It's laugh out loud funny, but that's going to make such a difference in 2021. So that would be my choice for defensive coordinator. I think they could go a couple different directions, but my choice would be probably Chris Richard, number one. Next up is James in Jersey. He has some reaction to Robert Saleh.
Hey, Matt, this is James from New Jersey again.
What's up?
It's a great time to be a Jets fan for now. We got Rob Saleh. I think we're happy at the fact that we got a head coach. This is a good big test for Joe Douglas, but Joe Douglas is the only thing I have riding on me now, because obviously all the other coaches kind of whiffed. No question, it's just reaction. It's just, I'm happy we got a head coach. I guess this is a good time frame. Defensive-minded coach. One thing I guess I've been hearing is that the only con could possibly be that if he does bring a good offensive coordinator in and probably fixes Sam Darnold, or fixes our potential, or helps coach and develop our potential rookie or young quarterback, is the fact that that offensive coordinator might go get a head coaching job. So do you possibly think that we might have issues with turnovers of offensive coordinators if our offensive coordinator for the first year on the Saleh is good? Let me know what you think. But other than that, I'm happy. We got a new head coach. I think things are looking up. Our coach is looking bright. Our front office is looking bright. Let's hope it transitions on the field now. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Matt. I hope you hear this, and go Jets.
Absolutely. I think Jets fans have a good reason to be excited. This is a coach that's been highly talked about for the last few years. This past year in San Francisco, his defense had a ton of injuries. They still finished top 5. He gets the most out of his guys. He's developed late-round picks. And he's bringing a completely different mentality, which is going to be so cool to see in 2021. I'm really not worried about the offensive assistants getting claimed. Like, that's a sign of a good organization and that your team's having success. So, yeah, there might be turnover. I'm willing to take that risk. Like, I am not worried about that at all. I think that it would be a good thing because the Jets are playing good football. That would mean, obviously, like in a perfect world, like the Bills are hoping that no one hires Brian Daboll, and the Ravens are hoping that no one hires Greg Roman. And I get that, and I really do, but the reason why those coaches are being sought after is because both of those teams are Super Bowl contenders and have really good offenses. So if the Jets are a Super Bowl contender with really good offense, sign me up for that. Because if you have a good offense, if you have the franchise quarterback, if you have a good coach and a good infrastructure, that means you could win any year, which is different than what we've had as Jets fans in a very, very, very long time. So I'm with you on that, James. Next up is Roger in Comac. He's got some Saleh reaction as well.
Matt, Roger from Comac calling.
What's up?
Matt, I got to be honest with you. When the Jets first started their head coaching search, I was not high on Saleh. The truth is, I didn't know anything about him. I mean, my first choice was Matt Campbell, followed by Brian Daboll. Then I didn't even know who was following, after that. But in any case, as I learned more about, Saleh and how he performs, as a motivator and as a teacher, I got to tell you, the more I liked him. Then I saw his, the intensity he's got on the sideline, and that just sold me. So when I heard the news, Saleh's going to be new head coach for the New York Jets, I got to tell you, I was ecstatic. I mean, because
you should be.
For one, I mean, I wasn't convinced Joe was going to go hard. I'm sorry. I was convinced that Joe was going to go hard after Martindale. Even though Joe had an outstanding draft last year, even though there were no current Ravens brought in to interview, I still doubted him. Let me tell you, I'm not doubting Douglas anymore.
No.
He's the guy that's going to get us the talent that we need to succeed. And Robert Saleh, he is the guy that's going to take us to the promised land. Matt, let me tell you, I'm ecstatic. Let's go Jets.
That's a lot of high praise there from Roger, and I think there is reason to be excited. It's crazy what a good hire can do to your fan base. And nobody had this excitement when Adam Gase was hired. There were a select few, who were trying to spin Zone A into something positive, but for the most part, 95% of Jet fans knew it was going to be a disaster. Now, I don't think anyone knew it was going to be this bad like we saw in 2020, but going into 2021, the Jets have 2 first-round picks. They have 2 first-round picks next year. They're going to have $80+ million in cap space this year. There's reason to be excited about the direction of this franchise. And here's another thing. There's no more 5-year rebuilds in the NFL. The Jets can turn this around in a year or two. They have a ton of draft assets. They could trade Sam Darnold for another draft asset. They have a ton of money in free agency to spend this year. It's going to be a really exciting time to be a Jets fan. And I understand the hype. The hype around Joe Douglas is real. The hype around Robert Saleh is real. And the Jets are going to be much, much, much better coached this year, which is absolutely exciting. You should be super excited about it. So next up, we're going to go to Dan. He's got some Saleh reaction as well. Let's get into it.
My main man, Matt. How we doing?
Good.
Dan from New York calling again. And I ain't calling today with complaints. I ain't calling today with even questions. I'm calling today with a fat-ass smile on my face, my man, because for the first time, I think it's safe to say in our miserable Jets lives, this organization with the hiring of Robert Saleh and soon to be of LaFleur, it
okay,
just proves one thing. You know, combining that with the magic that is Joe Douglas, we look and feel like a competent, aligned organization
Amen.
for the first time.
Yes.
Truly. I mean, you can look back at times when we were good, but even then, you know, we were shaking off the Rex kind of dysfunction and, you know, kind of that sloppy approach to being like us against the world. With Saleh, you get that fire, but it's earned because he's a leader. You know, he actually listens and gets to know his players and comes to love the guys on his team. He'd literally run out there and take a bullet for one of his guys.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting with Robert Saleh, man. So don't want to take too long, but just wanted to echo my extreme excitement, my extreme optimism. And listen, I know the past few years have been freaking hell. We all agree on that, but here's a silver lining, man. Hopefully we'll look back and be like, damn, if it wasn't for Greg Williams and Adam Gase, we wouldn't have been in this rare position with all this capital and finally having our guy. Let's go, baby. J-E-T-S! Jet! Woo! Talk later. Go Jets.
I love that energy. I really do. It's so crazy to see what a good hire can do to a fan base. It really is. There's not really much more I could add to that. He hit the nail on the head, Dan did, when you're talking about the Jets coaches not being aligned with the general managers and being on different timelines, Rex and Tannenbaum, Rex and Idzik. In 2015, they did a complete reset with McCagnon and Bowles, but that was 2 really bad hires. And then they decided to move on from Bowles, but they kept McCagnon, awful mistake, and then Gase and Douglas and blah, 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 blah. No, now you have Douglas, who's a legitimate GM, a football guy running the show. You hire a coach with a big upside. You bring in an offensive coordinator with a big upside. They'll add a defensive coordinator who is going to be competent to help this out. I'm super excited for this coaching staff, and I'm super excited for the direction of this franchise with the amount of draft picks they have and with the amount of money they could spend in free agency on top of that. Next up is Ben in Jersey. He wants to talk about the quarterback situation.
What's up, Matt? It's Ben from Jersey. So we got our guy. We got Robert Saleh from the San Francisco 49ers. I'm ecstatic for this, but this comes to raise the question about who their quarterback going to be for next year. Now, many people think with this new West Coast system that the Niners had with Michael Floor, that we're going to keep saying the better suits him. I'm just here to say that I still think we got to go Zach Wilson at pick 2. Because I feel like Justin Fields is out of the question now because I don't think he'll play well in the system. But at least if you draft Zach Wilson, you're going to have some margin for error. Like, he can make, like, you don't have to, like, go after all the big fish immediately. Like, you don't have to pay top dollar for Allen Robinson and Joe Tooney like everyone. With Sam Darnold in his 4th year, with $25 million coming to him after this season possibly, you got to get him, like, literally, you have to make the season perfect. Like, you can't have anything go wrong. Like, you have to give him Allen Robinson or Kenny Galladay. You have to give him Joe Tooney. You have to ace this draft. I mean, I love the kid, but you can't. You just have to basically just get the best of the best in this offseason if you want Darnold to succeed. If you draft Wilson, you can at least go after tier 2 guys like Curtis Samuel or Corey Davis or someone like that, and still have Wilson try to, like, succeed with those guys. So, yeah, even though the Salah and LaFleur hiring could help Darnold flourish better in a new system, I still think Wilson has to be the pick. Plus, Wilson did say he likes the Shanahan system the best. And
yeah,
he would
of course.
There. That's just my thoughts. I think drafting Wilson would just give the Jets it would just make better sense for them financially.
I agree.
And at this point, you hit the reset button because if Darnold was the same as, like, his rookie year or his second year, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, honestly. This kid was awful this year.
Unfortunately,
and
yes.
I wish the best for him, but I think we got to go Wilson there, so you got to pull the trigger. Just let me know your thoughts on this. And as always, go Jets.
Yeah, Wilson would be my pick at number 2 overall. The only place where I differ from you is going for the second-tier free agents if you're going with the rookie quarterback. I don't necessarily buy that. I think that you can and still, should bring in a big-time threat at wide receiver and a big-time threat at guard, edge. I would attack the offseason the same way. I don't think it really matters one way or the other with Darnold or Wilson, whichever one is going to be your guy in 2021. I'd prefer it to be Wilson, but I think you can still attack the free agent market the exact same way because your offense is going to be run the exact same way. And you want to put your young quarterback, whether it be Wilson or Darnold, in a good situation so that they can succeed. And I think by doing that, you bring in a big wide receiver, you bring in a guard, and then on the defensive side, edge and corner are the positions that I care the most about. So that's the way that I would run it. That's the way that I would do it. So we differ slightly there, but for the most part, we're on the same page in Wilson being a good fit for the offense. I agree. I think he's the best fit for this offense in the draft. Jeffrey from New Jersey is up next, and thanks again, Ben, for calling in. And he wants to talk about the draft.
Hey, Matt, it's Jeffrey from New Jersey, and I just want to start off by saying that I really, really, really love this hire. Once I heard Matt Campbell was staying in college, the next guy on my list was Robert Saleh. I've been looking into this guy since last year, and I really love what he brings to the table for this team. But my question is more directed towards the draft now. I'm still on the group of people that believe that we should draft a quarterback at number 2. I'm still on that wagon, but my real question is about the 23rd pick, and I was pretty set on going after a guard like Wyatt Davis, and I watched his injury during the Ohio State game. Now, he said it's not anything major, but I want to ask you if you think that this injury is going to impact his stock, and whether or not we could take the risk of waiting until the second round to take him and take another player in that spot, maybe a corner, an edge rusher, whatever, or a running back. I'm not really for that, but there is a chance they could take Najee Harris. But that's my question, and continue what you're doing. And as always, go Jets. I can finally say that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The relief to be able to say go Jets. Like we're not rooting for the tank anymore. We're not rooting for losses, which is so much fun. I think that Wyatt Davis could potentially fall. We'll know more as it gets closer in terms of what his health is like. If he's not healthy, maybe he will be there at 34 and you pick him then. I'm still a big fan of his game. So maybe he might be a candidate to fall depending on his injury. I would be stunned if the Jets took a running back at 23. I don't see that happening at all. The 49ers have done a running back by committee for a long time, and it's worked out really well there. I don't think they're going to put a premium asset like that into running back. I think they'll either go with a mid-round running back to add to LaMichael P. Ryan and Ty Johnson, or they will go with a veteran like Marlon Mack, Gus Edwards, Jamal Williams, who's my favorite of the bunch, and roll that way, which I think is the smart way to do it. Some positions that I could see being taken at 23, interior offensive line is definitely high up there. Corners high up there. Edge is high up there. I think those are the three. And if I had to rank them, it'd probably be interior offensive line, edge, then corner. This defense that Robert Saleh is going to run needs an edge presence. So they are going to get one either via free agency or the draft. You have to have an edge presence in this defense for it to be successful. They're going to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback, which is going to be fun to watch, but they need edge help for sure. So I think that's the direction that I would go at pick 23. Last but certainly not least is Elias in Rochester, and thank you, Jeffrey, for checking in with us. And we got a trade scenario from Elias.
Hey, Matt, this is Elias from Rochester. I just have a few Jets thoughts on what your opinion on, and then I have a trade proposal at the end.
Okay.
So, first thought, I'm really, really hyped at the Robert Saleh hire. I really like it. I love the guy, the coordinator he brought in, LaFleur.
Yep.
Wilson, I think that should probably be the pick. I just saw your video about that. Great vid, man.
Thank you.
But if you want to roll with Sam Darnold, I would do it as long as you can get a first-round pick for next year, so you have an ability to move up and not to give up like 3 drafts worth of picks. So you'd have three picks in the first round. You could, package 2 of them to move up. If Sam really isn't the guy, that's only if you want to pass on a quarterback. And also, to all the people who told me that the Texans job was the most attractive, they can't even hire a coach now, and I think they're going to end up with Adam Gase probably. They can't get anyone, especially without Watson. But speaking of the Texans, my trade proposal for you is wide receiver Brandon Cooks. So they obviously got him last year. It seems like this guy switches teams every year, but
this is true.
He's a pretty good receiver, and he's making $12 million a year, which is kind of not like a great contract. But with that, you can get him for a really low draft pick. I think you could get him for like a 5th round pick maybe, and there's no more dead cap penalty. So if he stinks, you can just cut him, and there's no dead cap. So I think that would be a very interesting, way to get a receiver. You have him, Mims, Crowder, draft a guy. Draft 2 guys maybe, depending on the number of picks we have. He's a good deep threat, so I'd be curious to see what he's got. So, yeah, man, let me know what you think, and go Jets.
Yeah, Cooks is interesting, and thank you so much for checking in. He does bounce around a lot, but if you're telling me that you can get him for a 5th-round pick, then, yeah, I'm all about getting in here as many wide receivers as humanly possible to make life as easy on your young quarterback or Sam Darnold as you can. I wanted to pull up his numbers. So in 2020, he's 27 years old with Houston, had 81 catches for 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. In 2019 with the Rams, he had a down year, 583 yards, 2 touchdowns. But he's had over 1,000 yards in his career 5 times, 5 out of 7 years. He's with the he's with New Orleans first, then traded to New England for a year, the Rams for 2, Houston for 1. If you can tell me I can get him for a 5th, sure. And roll with him, Mims, Crowder in the slot, and maybe add another receiver on day 2 of the NFL draft, then sure. I think that's a capable offensive and wide receiver core. Maybe you add another tight end in the mix as well to just get as many options as humanly possible for Zach Wilson or Sam Darnold. Those are the 2, and I know we started the show, which I guess is kind of poetic to end it this way too. I really think that those are the 2 options for quarterback next year. I'd be really surprised if it's Deshaun Watson, pleasantly surprised. I think the Jets should be in the mix on it. I just don't know how likely that is. And with Justin Fields, I just don't look at him as, as good of a fit in this offense as someone like Zach Wilson. So that's my take on it. Obviously, that could change over the next few months because free agency, the draft, the rumors. Oh my God, there's so many rumors. But we're having a lot of fun. Jets fans, we are having a ton of fun. That's going to do it for me on this episode of Just Jets, episode 50 next week. And then we're a couple of weeks away from the 1-year anniversary of Just Jets, which is really cool. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get the show, and I'll talk to you next time.